Hey Reddit, I'm putting this out there because it's been a hell of a few years, and I need to get it all off my chest. My life imploded, then slowly, painfully, rebuilt itself. Arthur, 48M, I had been married to Carmen 47F, for 18 years. We had a son, Xander 22M, who was in his final year of college. From the outside, we were the picture of stability, a nice house, a good career for me as a construction manager, a son on the cusp of adulthood. I thought we had built a solid, comfortable life together. I was proud of what we had, proud of our family. About 2 years ago, I was on a business trip, as I often was. It was a routine week-long trip, but a client meeting got cancelled, and I managed to get an earlier flight home. I decided to surprise Carmen. I stopped at a florist, picked up a bouquet of her favorite lilies, and drove home, a smile on my face, looking forward to a quiet evening with my wife. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed an unfamiliar car. A sleek, dark sedan I didn't recognize. My smile faltered. A flicker of unease. I dismissed it. Maybe a friend of Xander's? But Xander was at college. Maybe one of Carmen's friends? I let myself in with my key, the flowers in my hand. The house was quiet, too quiet. I walked through the living room, heading towards the kitchen, when I heard it. Laughter. Not just Carmen's, but a man's. And it was coming from the master bathroom, off our bedroom. My heart began to pound. A cold dread seeped into my bones. I walked slowly, silently, towards the sound. The bathroom door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open. And there they were. Carmen. And another man. In our shower. Laughing. His arm was around her, her head thrown back in laughter. The steam filled the room, but not enough to obscure the horrifying reality. My world shattered. The flowers slipped from my numb fingers, hitting the tiled floor with a soft thud. The scent of lilies, usually so pleasant, now felt like a cruel mockery. The laughter died. Carmen's eyes, wide with shock, met mine. The man, Gavin, 40M, turned, his face going from amused to terrified in an instant. A red haze descended. All the years, all the trust, all the dreams we had built, they evaporated in that single, horrifying moment. I didn't think. I reacted. Get out. I roared, my voice raw, unrecognizable even to myself. Gavin scrambled, trying to cover himself, his eyes darting frantically. Whoa, man, calm down. Calm down? Get out of my house. I lunged, a primal, uncontrollable fury taking over. I grabbed him, pulling him out of the shower, ignoring Carmen's screams. I don't remember the details clearly, only a blur of fists, a desperate struggle, the sound of skin hitting skin. I hit him, again and again, fueled by pure, unadulterated rage and betrayal. I wanted to hurt him, to make him feel a fraction of the pain he had inflicted on me. He eventually broke free, stumbling, bleeding from his nose and a cut above his eye. He grabbed his clothes, half-dressed, and bolted out of the house, leaving a trail of blood on the hallway floor. Carmen was screaming, not at him, but at me. Arthur. What have you done? You're a monster. You're violent. I'm calling the police. I'm filing for divorce. I'm getting a restraining order. Her words, even through my rage, cut through me. I was the monster? I was violent? After she betrayed me in our home? The injustice was sickening. But the damage was done. Gavin was gone, bleeding. And Carmen was already on the phone, not to an ambulance for him, but to the police. The situation escalated quickly, brutally. Gavin pressed charges. 2 days later, I was at work, trying to hold myself together, when 2 police officers walked into my office. They arrested me on the spot. I spent a night in jail. The humiliation was crushing. Arthur, a respected construction manager, a husband, a father, was sitting in a cold cell, facing a misdemeanor charge of assault in the 3rd degree. The irony was not lost on me. I had been betrayed, and now I was the criminal. While I was locked up, Carmen wasted no time. She obtained a temporary restraining order against me, claiming she feared for her safety. The order barred me from my own home, the house I had inherited from my grandmother, the house that had been in my family for generations. I was released from jail, but I was homeless, with nowhere to go, my life savings tied up, and a legal battle looming. I had to crash on my best friend Ben's couch, feeling utterly adrift and broken. Upon my release, I found my home locked, a copy of the restraining order taped to the door, and a police cruiser parked down the street, ensuring I didn't violate the order. I stood there, staring at the house that was no longer mine, feeling a profound sense of despair. The hardest part, though, was Xander. My son. I called him, desperate to explain, to tell him my side of the story. He refused to listen. "Dad," he said, his voice cold, distant, "Mom told me everything. You assaulted someone. You lost control. I'm ashamed of you. I can't believe you would do something like that. I don't want to talk to you right now." He sided with Carmen. Completely. He believed her narrative, that I was a violent, controlling man who had snapped. He refused to hear about her infidelity, about the betrayal that had driven me to that moment of madness. His judgment, his shame, cut deeper than any legal consequence. I felt trapped, legally, financially, and emotionally. My job was on the line, my reputation was in tatters, and my relationship with my son, the one person I thought I could always count on, was shattered. 3 weeks later, we had a court hearing to address the restraining order. My lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Ms. Davies, had been a godsend. She understood the nuances, the provocation. The judge, after hearing the initial arguments, dismissed the temporary restraining order. She recognized that my violent act, while inexcusable, was an isolated incident, a reaction to extreme provocation, not a pattern of domestic violence. A small victory, but a victory nonetheless. I could, theoretically, return home. But then, the hearing took a painful, unexpected turn. Xander testified. Against me. He stood there, my son, looking at me with a mixture of anger and sadness, and recounted a history of emotional abuse and control. He spoke of my demanding nature, my high expectations, times I had raised my voice, times he felt I was too critical. He painted a picture of me as an overbearing, emotionally volatile father, implying that the assault was not an isolated incident but a culmination of a long-standing pattern of abusive behavior. His testimony, delivered with such conviction, deeply hurt me. I sat there, stunned, listening to my own son twist our history, misinterpret my attempts at guidance as control, and align himself completely with Carmen's narrative. It was a betrayal almost as profound as Carmen's infidelity. I had tried to raise him to be strong, responsible, independent. And here he was, publicly condemning me, seemingly blind to his mother's deceit and his own role in perpetuating her victimhood. Despite Xander's painful testimony, Ms. Davies was prepared. She had been working tirelessly, digging into Carmen's life. She presented compelling evidence of Carmen's infidelity. Credit card statements, months of lavish spending, far beyond Carmen's usual habits, on expensive dinners, hotel rooms, and gifts, all occurring during my business trips. Phone records, extensive call logs and text messages between Carmen and Gavin, showing frequent communication late at night, and during times she claimed to be busy or asleep. Witness testimony. My best man, Ben, testified about Sarah's strange behavior leading up to the wedding, and the public spectacle at the altar. The judge, a seasoned professional, listened carefully. While the assault charge against me was still pending, the evidence of Carmen's extensive, long-term infidelity was undeniable. It painted a clear picture of the provocation I had endured. This evidence played a crucial role in the subsequent divorce proceedings. The divorce was messy, protracted, and emotionally draining. Carmen, emboldened by Xander's support, initially tried to claim half of everything, including the house. But Ms. Davies was relentless. The judge, having seen the evidence of infidelity and the circumstances surrounding the assault, ruled decisively in my favor. I retained full ownership of the house, which was legally mine anyway, having been inherited from my grandmother years before our marriage. Carmen received minimal financial compensation, barely enough to cover her legal fees. The judge effectively dismissed her claims of abuse, highlighting her own deceptive actions during the marriage as a significant factor in the breakdown of the union. It was a clear, unambiguous victory. Despite the favorable outcome in court, the emotional scars remained. My relationship with Xander was severely strained. He continued to support Carmen, refusing to acknowledge her infidelity or the role it played in our family's destruction. He saw me as the aggressor, the one who ruined everything. It was a painful rift, a constant ache in my heart. I had my house back, my financial stability, but my family felt irrevocably broken. I felt a mix of relief that the legal battle was over, and profound sorrow for the family I had lost. 2 years later, my life had stabilized. My career was back on track, I had renovated the house, and I was slowly rebuilding my social life. I hadn't spoken to Carmen or Xander in months, beyond formal legal communications. Then, I got a call. From Xander. His voice was strained, desperate. "Dad," he said, I need your help. It's bad." He confessed that his own marriage, which had only lasted a year, was falling apart. His wife had discovered his infidelity. He had been cheating on her, repeatedly, with multiple women. And now, she was divorcing him, taking everything, and threatening to expose him publicly. He was facing financial ruin, social ostracism, and the loss of his home. He was in a situation eerily reminiscent of my own, 2 years prior. The cycle of betrayal seemed to repeat itself. He was calling me for financial help. He needed money for a lawyer, for a new apartment, for basic living expenses. He was desperate. I listened, my mind reeling. The irony was almost unbearable. My son, who had condemned me for my reaction to infidelity, was now facing the consequences of his own infidelity. "The apple doesn't fall far from the tree," saying had never felt so painfully accurate. I was faced with a difficult decision: to forgive, to offer the help he had denied me, to break the cycle of bitterness, or to stand firm in my boundaries, to let him face the consequences of his own choices, just as I had been forced to face mine. I ultimately decided against providing financial support to either Xander or Carmen. I had already paid a heavy price for their choices. They needed to face the consequences of their actions, to learn the hard lessons of accountability and personal responsibility, just as I had. Bailing them out would only enable them, perpetuate the cycle of irresponsibility and entitlement. I reflected on the lessons learned from my own harrowing experience, the importance of honesty, the devastating impact of betrayal, the necessity of boundaries, and the long-lasting consequences of choices made in moments of emotional turmoil. My violent reaction was wrong, and I paid for it. But my wife's infidelity was also a choice, and she paid for it too. And now, Xander was paying for his.